Hello students. Today's lecture is on the instrumentation part of X-ray diffraction methodology. Under this we can see the basic components of syllabus for this point is the Louis photographic method, Bragg's X-ray spectrophotometry method, rotation crystal method and powder method. So the basic objective of this presentation will be after completion of this topic, the students will be able to understand the concept of Bragg's X-ray spectrophotometer, the Lewis diffraction method, rotating crystal method, and powder method. So let's start with Bragg's law and Bragg's spectrophotometer. We all have studied the Bragg's law in the previous discussion. In this in previous video, I have explained you that what exactly Bragg wanted to see. The Bragg equation basically explains the interrelation between the wavelength and the interplanar distance. We have explained that every atom is supposed to be composed of a layer of atoms. These layers are also being referred as the lattice layers. And whatever incident rays falls on the first layer, there is a bright possibility that the ray may also fall on the second layer or on the upcoming layers. So if such kind of uh, incident rays exposure towards different layers occurs, obviously the reflection from each layer will occur, and ultimately the reflected rays on after reflection will result into some kind of interference. They will interact with each other, they will bring about interference, they will coincide with each other, leading to interference. This interference will be either constructive or destructive. I have already told, when we have constructive interference, the amplitude of the wavelength will get increased, the signal will be strong. But if in case we have a destructive interference, then the signal will be lost. So here a formula was given by Bragg, that was n lambda equals 2d sine theta. So when this law satisfies, we get a constructive interference. Here n is the integral multiple of rays, that is how much number of rays are falling, how much, say, first degree, second degree, third degree, and so on. Lambda is the wavelength of the incoming waves. D is the distance between the two rays in the crystals, so not rays, between the interplanar space, I will say, and theta is the angle of incidence. If I draw a normal over here, we will get a angle of incidence. So Bragg spectrometer is thus we can see that there exists a relation between the wavelength and the distance. So if we know the wavelength, from Bragg's law, we can say that if we know the wavelength of X-ray, then we can determine the interplanar distance and vice versa. If we know the distance, we can determine the wavelength of X-ray. And considering this fact, the spectrophotometer was designed, where wavelength or interplanar distances are determined. Bragg spectrophotometer is supposed to be composed of X-ray tube. The X-ray tube, the basic purpose of X-ray tube is to give away the X-rays. We all have studied that these are the cathode anode rays. Bombardment occurs, and the due to bombardment, whatever energy is emitted, that is emitted in form of X-rays. Secondly, these X-rays are then explode off on a specific sample. So this is the zoom in case of the sample. Our sample is any kind of crystal, and this crystal is supposed to be composed of layers of atoms. Each layer of atom is referred as the lattice layer. These lattice layers are separated by a specific distance, either it is horizontally or it is vertically. In both the cases, they are separated by a specific distance, and this specific distance is referred as the lattice, or we already called as interplanar distance. This sample is further being placed in a sample holder, which is a quartz, which is made up of quartz, and this quartz is then after later is placed in the spectrophotometer. The spectrophotometer is consists of exit slits. It is consists of sample holder, exit slits, and ionization chamber with methyl bromide filled in it. Now this is the new segment. Up till now, whatever spectrophotometry we have observed, under that we have not seen such kind of arrangement. What exactly happens in this case is that methyl bromide have the property to get irradiated with the X-rays. So when X-rays bombard on methyl bromide, they break down methyl bromide and forms cations and anions. These cation anions are attracted by the specific electrodes, and since when the ions go to specific electrodes, the change in voltage or change in current will be recorded by the galvanometer. The galvanometer responds to the ions formed. And now as the intensity will increase, the irradiation will increase, signal will increase, the deflection will be greater. So thus we can say that they are interlinked with each other. Now these uh, in earlier case we can see that what we can postulate is that the X-ray will be emitted from will enter the entrance slate and will coincide the will get bombarded by with toward the crystal and will give away the scattering. So bright possibility is that it is not possible that it will scatter in a single direction. There is a bright possibility that it will scatter in all the possible directions. But since discrete signals are observed, the discrete signals will not lead to any kind of cadential data. So what we need is the again bifurcation into a single beam. So whatever scattered beams are observed, those are being rectified, being nullified, and not allowed to move ahead, and only a single beam is allowed to irradiate the methyl bromide present in the ionization chamber. Now, the question arises, which specific rays are allowed to enter the chamber? Yes, X-rays colliding the sample forms at glancing angle. Now, this is a new term, what we call as glancing angle. Glancing angle is the angle between the ray of incident on the plane surface and the surface. So, when the incident ray falls on the plane of the surface, okay, either in the first plane, second plane, third plane, fourth plane, and number of planes. So, whatever angle is, whatever the whichever ray falls on the flow, it will form a specific angle. That angle will be referred as the glancing angle. So what it is saying is that only for those whose glancing angle is equal to diffracted angle from lattice layer will be allowed to enter the chamber. That means earlier we have seen over here that when the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection, only under that consideration we are expecting that the ray will enter the, so same consideration is placed over is taken over here. So only those who are having the angle of the glazing angle and the reflection angle is same, only those will be allowed to enter the chamber. Further, the spectrometer is rotated for several readings for each rotation. So likewise, if it is a position, I've tried to create the virtually. So this is the one position. So slightly the position will be deflected towards the clockwise or towards anti-clockwise. For every rotation, we will get difference in the glancing angle. So glancing angle will differ, the reflected ray will be different, the amount of ray reaching the chamber will be different, and the irradiation pattern will be different. So the spectrometer is rotated for different glancing angles. Galvanometer will be showing different readings. Thus, we are varying the theta and checking its effect on lattice spacing by recording galvanometer reading. For each such kind of deflections, we get if we try to plot a graph by placing the ionization current and glazing angle, we will get such kind of peaks, and each peak will respond to the theta 1, theta 2, theta 3. Theta 1 is the glazing angle. So for every glazing angle, we will get a signal. Now this signal will be representing only because of the what we call as uh, constructive interference.